Why, hello, 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 people, and welcome,
Oh, hey, Dan.
welcome. Oh, hey, um, welcome to another version of, or another episode. It's not really a version. I mean, I guess it is a different version, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But to another episode of Kyle and Dan's webinar series. See some familiar faces out there. We're going to give it a couple seconds here. As always, we kind of say the same thing at the beginning of all of these, just for people to kind of make it. As we all know, we're probably all running from meeting to meeting these days, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult to end one meeting and jump into the other, or the little alert doesn't show up on your phone right away, so you run a couple minutes behind to a meeting. But we won't wait too long to be respectful for those of you guys who made it on time. We appreciate that. I had a coach who used to say, if you're not early, you're late. So I guess there's some people who are late. All right. So again, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. As a company, we're not one of the big box stores. We're a little bit different. The way that we treat everything is going to be a little bit differently than some of the other folks out there. And I know some of the folks on here know that already. I can tell by looking at some of the names, and I know that there's so we thank you for being here. This is how we market, right? So we're not a big marketing engine backed by a giant hedge fund somewhere. We are a small company of long-time employees who look after our folks. So thank you again for being here. And to say that I'm excited about this one would be an understatement. I was just as excited 2 days ago when we did the first time through. I'm maybe even a little more excited today because, I learned a couple of things as I was going through this. Version 2.0 of sentiment analysis really is another animal, but we'll get to that in a second. Before we do that, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Down at the bottom, you do see some links. If you click on the links, you'll see a link to the My Votacall portal, Customer Love, our LinkedIn page. Please go over there and like us and follow us and all those fun things. Pound that like button. Let's see, Votacall One training library, where we keep our training videos. If there's ever videos that you don't see in there, just let us know. We'll see if we can get one made. You may recognize that voice as you go through some of those. Votacall One webinars, that's where you can watch replays of the webinars. It may be today's, it may be the one from the other day. We'll usually just pick whichever one we felt went a little bit better and go. We do have a rough sketch of what this is supposed to look like, but sometimes, like in a recording studio, there's take one, take two, and you just figure out which one goes the best way. And then there is a support. So how to reach our 24/7, 365 award-winning support. You'll also see a tab for polls, and we would love to see just a very simple poll. Have you guys ever used AI before? And just let us know, whether that's ChatGPT or whether that's in telecom. Obviously, today we're going to talk a little bit about how AI works in telecom. And then there's a questions tab. And know that your questions only are seen by Kyle or I. We will attempt to answer them right now. If we can't, we'll get back to you with what the answers are. If your question is, how do I get signed up for this? We'll cover that in a little bit. But it is, we had, and I do see some folks on here who tried version 1. Of sentiment analysis, and we absorbed a lot of feedback from you folks. And version 2, we really couldn't call it 1.5. I think that was the plan, but instead something else happened. Again, we'll cover that in the webinar. So that's kind of it for housekeeping. Please do let us know. Know that reaching out to support at any time is covered under your contract. So if you need anything for anything, just reach out. Right? We're always here to help you out. I am Dan. I'm a director of sales engineering currently. I used to run the solutions group. Prior to that, I don't know. I've done pretty much everything. I used to run a branch in Florida. I was a sales guy. I used to be an install tech. I don't know. I've done a lot, worn a lot of different hats at Votacall. And with me today from the solutions team is Kyle. Kyle.
Well, hey, I'm Kyle. I've been with Votacall since 2019, and I've been in telecom since 2009.
All right. See, so we're veterans around here. So and happy to have you. I think Kyle's going to walk you through the first part of this, and then I'm going to take over and talk a little bit about sentiment analysis 2.0, and then eventually we'll show you the product. I say eventually we'll be as good as we can to get you guys out of here on time. Again, we do thank you for being here. We tend to run long occasionally, but let's go.
Right on. All right, so what are we learning today? So we're going to do a recap of what sentiment analysis is, how it works, the benefits, and who is sentiment analysis for. We'll go over the feedback received from you on version 1, go over the major enhancements, and then we're going to show you the new intelligence dashboard. That's really the big thing that we're here to show you today is the intelligence dashboard. So what is sentiment analysis? So sentiment analysis is using artificial intelligence to listen to calls. It's analyzing words, tone, pitch, speed, pauses, and emotional cues to detect if a call was positive, negative, or neutral, and then provides alerts, transcripts, scores, and insights into your phone calls. There's 5 key features to sentiment analysis. So along with the call recording itself, you get a transcription of the call, you get the sentiment score, it detects topics, and you can also program sentiment analysis to listen for particular topics as well, which Dan's going to show us in the new intelligence dashboard shortly. You get a summary of what your call was about, and all of this is presented in the intelligence dashboard.
Woohoo.
So how does it work? So once a call starts, AI is listening. It's detecting the sentiment and the topics. Once the call ends, you get the summary. And then once again, it's all presented in our brand new intelligence dashboard. So what are the benefits of sentiment analysis? So customer service coaching. So it's providing you objective data on how agents are handling calls in emotional situations. You can pinpoint who de-escalates well, who struggles, and where training is needed. And this is a big part of it without having to manually listen to calls, hours of phone calls. Churn prevention, so it allows you to catch dissatisfaction early, giving you a chance to fix problems before customers leave permanently. Product and service feedback, so you're being provided data-driven decision making instead of relying on surveys, which we know nobody fills out. Guilty. Sentiment analysis is analyzing every interaction, which leads to more reliable insights into customer experience trends. And trends is actually a big thing we're going to show you here shortly as well. Quality assurance, this is a big one too. So if lots of calls suddenly show negative sentiment around a particular topic, perhaps billing, product defect, long wait times, etc., you catch problems early before they snowball. So who is sentiment analysis for? Banking, finance, insurance companies, healthcare providers, utility providers, retailers, travel, hospitality, collections agencies, sales teams, legal firms, real estate, government and public services. With all that said, I could have just said everybody.
Yeah,
but what's common amongst these is high call volume, emotional intensity, and direct revenue or reputational sensitivity. So any organization where phone interactions drive customer loyalty, revenue, or brand perception, that is who sentiment analysis is for. Now I'm going to hand it over to Dan. He's going to go over the feedback, what's new, and we'll do a demo.
All right. And like I said, I get excited about telecom. I am a fairly excitable person. I do. Please ask questions during this part. I have the ability to ramble. It's why they pay me to do my job, because I can talk and talk and talk and talk. But that's why no one answers the phone when I call. But maybe they have something else to do. Anyway, see, I'm doing it now. So the feedback we received from you guys. So we got a lot of feedback on version 1. And version 1, when we compare the two, it really isn't version 1 and then 1.5. It really is a new product almost. We toyed with the idea of changing the name of it, but we really liked intelligence. But your feedback was a hierarchy of some description. Version 1 lacked any. Once you gave someone access, they kind of had access to everything. They could see all of the triggers that were set up. They could see, there really wasn't a lot of ways to decide who got alerted on what. You could see everybody instead of just a select group of people. So if you were a supervisor, you had 3 supervisors, they could all see each other's phone calls, right? So a little bit of a mess, and we addressed that. Notifications, I just was kind of talking about that, but notifications were limited. We had notifications for negative phone calls, and we have, or negative sentiment. And then, that was pretty much it. And it was one email, and you could include multiple addresses in there. And that was kind of where it ended. And then being able to play and listen to calls from the intelligence dashboard was pretty important to people. Obviously, you would go to the intelligence dashboard, you see a negative call, you could read the transcript, see the summary, but if you wanted to actually listen to the phone call, you had to go somewhere else, and we have fixed that. So now the intelligence dashboard really is somewhere you can go and work out of. And that's really why we're excited. We also added some other features, like the ability to not listen for certain words. Like, if you say, have a great day at the end of every phone call, like, and that's what everybody's supposed to say, and there's thousands of you saying it, it's going to show up right in the middle of your word cloud. And we've made it so that you can eliminate certain things. I'm going to show you all those features in a second as we move through this. So what were the major enhancements? Well, those three things and everything. So we have a new product that has changed everything, and it's for everyone, which is pretty exciting. Which is why we're excited about this whole thing. And I joke about that, but the baseline is that the first thing that we did with the new version of intelligence, and I say we lightly here, I am not one of the engineers. I talk about the products with people, and I say, hey, here's what I think we need, and I listen to customers, and here's what they're asking. And we go to our engineers, and our engineering team is fantastic. And one of the things that they've been working on was something called VCons. VCons are new in telecom, about 2 years old now, or a year and a half now, and really starting to take shape and starting to take hold. This webinar is not about VCons. We could probably do a whole webinar on VCons. This is not about VCons, but write it down. So virtual conversation, they give you I'm going to read it, a structured and standardized container for conversational data, including audio transcripts and metadata. And they provide a ground truth that allows AI systems to learn. So there's the key right there, AI systems to learn, right? So it is basically a format of storing a conversation, transcript, summary, all those things. You can put it all in one place, and AI understands what it's looking at. Right. So that means it can be processed by AI. So you could ask it AI a question, and it could go look at all the conversations that have been had in your organization over a certain amount of time and produce a result. Okay. So it really is a tool. VCons are a tool that allow what you're about to see to happen. Okay. So we had to rewrite everything. So instead of version 1.2 that should have come out last October, the October before last October, or maybe just last October, we're releasing it now, but it's a much different thing. So what's new? Well, notifications, visualization, the topics are different. We have a Teams notification now, added settings, usability, detailed metrics, voice detection, filters. You can drill down as you're inside of here. Call queues, notifications, Slack notifications, email notifications. It can be personalized. You can search for things. It is customizable. It also produces trends. There are some things missing from that word cloud, but when we say everything, we kind of mean everything. All right. So let's go ahead and start to take a look. You can begin in the My Votacall portal. I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and we'll start in the old portal. Give me one sec. So we will start over here, right here, and we'll hit share. All right. So we're over here and we're sharing. Yeah, it looks like we are sharing. All right, cool. You guys can see that? Yes, I can see that. You can see it actually. All right, so we'll start by we're in the portal. This is the My Votacall portal for anyone not familiar. If you're not familiar with this, please watch some of the webinars. Reach out to us. We'll do a whole training on what the My Votacall portal is about for you, so that you can learn. I'm going to go over to call history. All right, so over here in call history, we have some new tabs now for people once they have sentiment turned on, where you can see the sentiment, see the topics. And you can add summary to that. Now, we can limit views to this page here now, and this is not something we could do before because this is where you'd have to listen to the phone call. But if you wanted to make it so that you had a hierarchy inside of intelligence, and then nobody could kind of see their calls recorded in here, we can eliminate some of this stuff. But I'm going to start by going to intelligence dashboard. I'm going to log in. Sorry, give me one sec. I need to log in with a special user. So that one, and I'm going to log in here. All right. So here we go. All right. So this is the old sentiment analysis. And so I'm just going to click on yesterday. And this is what it used to look like. This is version 1. Again, we've got our 5 top topics, our overall sentiment, call count, and that's it. This is for all the calls that it's turned on for. I can do last week, this week, yesterday, and today, and that's it. And then in here, I can either filter by inbound or outbound calls, and that's it. I can show the call summary. So if I wanted to see the call summary, I could, and then I could view the transcript. And I can see my top topics for this. So, but if I wanted to listen to this phone call, I'd have to go back to the portal and find it. So I'd have to copy this phone number, go filter by the phone number, etc. And then up here under intelligence settings, I had the ability to come in here and I could exclude internal calls, which we still have in the new version, ending sentiment duration, negative sentiment threshold. So, what's the percentage of calls that make a call negative? Topic notifications. So you could create topics that you got notified on, and then who those emails went to. And that was it. One set of notifications based on, a notification list or negative sentiment threshold. And that's it. That was pretty much what you could change. Okay. So now, drum roll, please. All right. So here we are in the new version of intelligence. And this is why I sound so excited right now. Because, it is, I always appreciate the party hats. This is why we are excited. If you look in here, I'm just going to give you a minute to absorb it and really take a look. But I mean, first of all, isn't it beautiful? I mean, it looks so nice. It's got so much more to offer. All right. So as we come in here, you can see your overview, which is where we are now. We have a tab specifically that looks at users and how users are doing. We'll review that in a second. We have a tab for call queues, so you can see how different call queues are doing against each other and drill down. Remember, one of the things that was in that word cloud was you can drill down now. You've got your topics tab, which just shows you topics, trends, which we'll get into in a minute. Your notification center, which is, again, you guys asked for notifications and boy, did we deliver. And so it's pretty exciting. And then you've got your settings, which is like the page. We'll start over there. So here's the page that we were looking at before in the other solution. And this is going to be how you set things. So you've got your auto intelligence here, which we had, allow internal calls or not. You've got your ability to include your missed calls or not, minimum call duration that you want to record on. So if most calls in your company that are voicemails are done within 30 seconds, you can just slide this up. By the way, as you slide this up, if you go back to your dashboard, it makes changes on the fly. Okay, so it actually will process information differently depending on what you change. You've got your ending sentiment duration. And then down here, you have your sentiment level thresholds, and we'll show you these in a minute as we go through. But you could say, okay, something is very negative if it's more than 17%. It's negative if it's 16 to -2. It's neutral if it's -1 to +1. That's really not a positive call, really not a negative call. Positive is +2 to +15. And then but these are all, you can adjust all these. And it will actually adjust the dashboard as you do it. All right, so you see configuration saved. And as you come up here, it'll tell you, your monthly usage cost as you go through this. Votacall does not charge for any of our features or functionality. So this dashboard is included. We do have to process AI calls. So in addition to what your monthly user cost is, it's 1.5 cents a minute. And so 210 hours of calls have been processed this month. So go ahead and just start doing the math on a 40-hour work week there, and you're going to get to 5.5 or 5.25 weeks of phone calls have been processed. All right. So you hired someone and they've been listening to 5.5 hours worth, 5 weeks, 5.25 weeks worth of phone calls, and you paid them $189. So that's how that math works. So it really is pennies. When you think about it. So, and that's we do a lot of phone calls. So you've got your how many users and then how many call queues, but it just gives you an idea of how many hours are recorded each month so that you can get a feel. Okay. And then as you come back, when you get your bill next month and you come in, you're like, oh, okay, that $189 checks out. Right. And it doesn't look like it's wildly out of whack with the other months that we have. Okay. So that's your settings page. And we've obviously changed things there. We've also got our call queues page. And, do we want to record this call queue or not? Do we want sentiment on this call queue or not? We've got your users. Do we want sentiment on those or not? You've got your topics, which is, what topics did you want to report on? And then it's got suggested ones from calls. So these are ones that you want the system to listen for. Supervisor is one of these, and this will come into play in a few minutes. Access management. Okay. So this is what you guys asked for. Excuse me. So you can see that like Andy has access to 2 of our sites and 2 of our queues. This office manager user just has access to 1 queue. So when they come in, they get a completely different view than what you and I are looking at. It's the same format, same dashboard, but it's only monitoring that one set of users that are in that queue. Okay. So it's a much different view than you get through anything else. And so you can add as many of these users as you want, and we can create profiles for them. And then you're going to see some other cool stuff that goes on as we go through this. Okay. So let's go back to the overview. All right, our pretty little page here that we started on, and we'll start at the top. So 266 calls this week. Now I could change this to, remember the last one had today, yesterday, this week, last week. We also added this month. We also added last month. All right. Now you do also have the ability to go in and select a date range. All right. So if I'm not positive when a phone call happened and I want to look at last Wednesday to today and hit apply, all right, that just changed, right? So you'll notice everything changed. So how many calls, what the average duration was, percentage of all those calls that are in that date range that are positive, percentage of those calls that are negative. And if you take 7% positive, 11% positive and minus 4% negative, you get 7% and positive. And that's your net sentiment score. So that's a new thing that we added. And your net sentiment is just kind of, it literally is percentage of your calls that are positive minus percentage of your calls that are negative. But that score can go all the way down to a specific phone call. All right. So you can view a phone call based on, okay, what was the net sentiment on that call? Was it positive, neutral, or negative based on the percentage of negative and the percentage of positive? I'll show you that in just a sec too. Okay. So of those calls in that date range that we're looking at right now, you've got your top topics was 23 calls were about a contract, 21 calls about a callback, 13 about a message, 12 about a phone setup, and 12 about voicemail. My top users during that time were Julie, Chad, our chit chat auto attendant, our auto speech enabled, voice. Kyle, what do we call chit chat?
Voice directory.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. Whew, that wasn't coming, guys. When you say so many words, sometimes different words disappear. And that was one of the ones that disappeared on me. So Andrew Jellison and then Scott, right? So over here, you got your queues. So you got your top queue, and then your contractor line, your core queue, and then your Avaya support queue. Now, anything that you see on here is clickable, right? If I wanted to see these 458 calls, I could click here. All right. And they're now down here on the bottom. Okay. Now, if I change this and I said positive 11 calls, now you see that this chart's changing. What's at the top and what's at the bottom has changed. The net sentiment score has changed. So of my positive calls. So if I was just looking at my positive phone calls now, 18% of those calls are positive, 2 are negative. So my net sentiment score is plus 16. And then here they are, right? So they're down here, and this is all the positive calls. Vice versa. If I came up here and I clicked on my negative calls because I wanted to understand that, okay, so here they are broken out across the course of a day. So this is analyzing in this date range that I was talking about, all of the negative call, just the negative calls and what percentages were where. I can also see who's in charge of those, who did them. And then down here, I see a couple different things. So let's talk a little bit about this page. Let's go to something happier to talk about this page. That page stinks. All right, so let's come down here, but I've got net sentiment, net ending, net caller sentiment. But if I click on this hamburger menu, you can see we've added a lot. So you can customize this dashboard to be what you want it to be. So you've got your caller, the caller site, the caller department. So if you just want to view calls by a site or by a department, you can do that. If you wanted to get in here and say, okay, called agent site, agent department, you can look at percentage of the call that was positive, percentage of the call that was neutral, percentage that was negative, ending positive percent, ending neutral percent. You get the idea, right? Don't make me read all these. It's just too many. But we have all this stuff now that you can view, and you can create your own page to be what you want it to be. So as you start to learn the system and you figure out what's important to you and what's working for you as an end user, you can customize your dashboard to be what you need it to be. Now, if I looked at one of these phone calls, like Julie's call here, I could click here. Okay. Customer calls District of Columbia Tax Office. All right, maybe we'll jump to a different phone call. And we'll say St. James Catholic School. All right, so they're trying to get a text message rejected by Google. All right, they talked to Roy. But if I wanted full analysis of that call, I click here and I see both sides of the phone call. I've got my sentiment breakdown over here on the right. But right here, I can listen to that phone call. Okay, so if I clicked here, it would start playing. So the beauty of this is I can read along the transcript. I can look at the phone call. By the way, I can view the positive pieces of this phone call. Like, so Kathleen said, thank you very much. That was positive, right? I can also see my top topics, etc. So you got a lot of things that you can do in here. And a lot of things that you can access. Okay, so let's move back up to the page because we talked about drilling down. So we've drilled down across these right now. And now what we're going to do is we're actually going to say, okay, I want to go in and I want to look at, okay, over the weekend, what happened? So let's zoom in right here. All right. And now this is the calls on that weekend. All right. So say, okay, let's focus on Sunday. All right, so now I'm in here on Sunday, and you can see I'm looking at the calls that came in across that time. How many calls came in, total calls. Excuse me, this must not be a Sunday. Chad's not making a bunch of calls on Sunday. But you get the idea. So, because this is some Monday in here too. All right, so if I just came in here, so these are just going to be support calls. Okay, but you get the idea. This is what we mean by drill down. So now the calls down here have changed. Okay. But let's go back. Let's clear our filters here. I'm going to go back to yesterday. All right. And so this is yesterday by hour. I'm taking a look. All right. Now I want to look at topics, or actually I'll start with users. So I come into here to users and I click right here. All right. So there we are. So if I wanted to see Julie's calls, I just click here, total calls, average, positive, negative. Now, this is where you start to see some of the trend information that we've brought in, because this is comparing yesterday versus the day before for Julie. Okay. And then this is for her call volume. And then, so I'm starting to get a feeling, okay, so after lunch, Julie seems to have a bunch of phone calls. Okay. Just by looking at this trend quickly. Positive sentiment per hour. All right. Neutral sentiment per hour, and then negative. And then what are people talking about? Well, Chase Bank. And so Julie's in billing. So bank transfer, account numbers, banking information, payment confirmation, routing numbers. These are all things I would expect to see in Julie's word cloud, right? So these are obviously Chase Bank popped up here. 2 calls on Chase Bank. All right, but you get the idea. And then here's your phone calls. Okay. And so for that time period. So again, we started over here on this page. All right. And then we went to here and we drilled. Now, if I'd have just clicked Julie, it would have just brought me to Julie. All right. Now let's look at queues. So let's come over here. All right. So here we are, our tier 1 support queue, 9 calls. And then these are our other queues, not a lot of traffic across this time period. But if I wanted to view just this queue, I could click here. And now I'm in this call queue, and it's showing me the agents who answered calls in that queue, what their sentiment scores are, et cetera. And if I wanted to drill down into Alex's calls, I could. All right. And then if I wanted to, go further than that, I could, right? So I could click here if I wanted to view that call. So now I'm in a call. All right, back to my dashboard. But this is what we mean about drilling down and viewing things and just being able to see a lot more than we used to be able to see. So we've covered now, just by drilling down, we've covered overview, users, call queues. We're going to go to topics quickly. All right, so here's the topics for yesterday that were talked about. Okay, they're all right here. Okay, as you go through. Right, so there's that Chase Bank one right there that we saw in Julie's cloud, but there's in the list. Now, I could, if I want to do search for a topic, so if I typed in Chase, there it is. Click here. All right, and there's the 2 calls that involve Chase. All right, so this is so you can get to anything that you need from wherever you are. And for me, from an engineering, at a usability standpoint, as an end user, as somebody who's been around call centers for years, as somebody who's been around phone systems for years, that circular motion of what this is capable of doing and being able to drill down into where you need to get to is really the most powerful tool it has. Okay. All right. So let's look at settings though for topics, and I can add exclusions. We talked about being able to add exclusions. All right. So these are different ones that we want to say in here, and we want to exclude certain things. Personal exclusions that you can add, company-wide exclusions that you're adding can all be done in here. Okay. Trends. Well, so again, we're on yesterday right now. So you've got the ability to look at yesterday volume, positive, neutral, negative across your trends. And then your total calls yesterday versus the day before. And then what's the change? Down 7%, up 7%. Now, if I went to this week, all right, so this starts to change a little bit, but is there a trend here? Yeah, my call volume trend is pretty accurate, right? It's from week to week. So maybe I'm up a little bit, maybe I'm down a little bit, but this is what it looks like, and if I wanted to, I can get in here and start to take a look at that day, but that's not what we're doing right now. But I just wanted to show you that we did extend that as well. So I'm in this week. And then, so down here, total calls versus this week versus last week, average duration, up or down, negative calls, up or down, positive calls, up or down. So our positive calls this week are up 47% over last week. Now our negative calls are too. Average positive percentage and average negative percentage about the same, right? Okay, this gets even more powerful when I say this month. All right, and I start to look at monthly trends, all right, against each other. So I get a feeling like, how do we do this month versus last month? Was our call volume about the same? Okay, and you can see your selected period versus your previous period. All right, so that's your trends. Your notification center we haven't taken a look at yet, but so again, this is one of the big ones for me. When you start to talk about notifications, before we had email notification, it went to one group of people. That was it. And it was only for negative calls, or a threshold percentage of negative calls, or certain words. But it was one notification. You received one notification. It went to Eric and I. That's who it was scheduled to go to for our company. So I could learn about the product and talk to people about it. And Eric, because he's in charge of support and he really needed to know these things. But there was no way of distinguishing who and what. So we added email. We've added Slack. We've added Teams, and we've added the ability for webhooks for your developers out there who know what that is. Now we've also got different channels. So I've got my own channel, which is my demo email channel. But shared with me is a development channel, which is the development team. Kyle has his own channel. And then I have another one that I set up for just my email as I was doing some testing. So in my channel, I've got 3 different triggers. I've got one that compares notifications from version 1, because I just wanted to make sure for all you guys who have notifications in version 1 that you still get them, right? So just so you know, that checks out. Sales test is what it says. So as you go in here, either party. So it's just basically me saying, okay, greater than 17% on this. First detection of the word sales, essentially. All right. And then my other one is supervisor notification. So if somebody says supervisor, I want to be notified. All right. And you can say first detection, is that one that when it notifies, or is it the second time somebody says supervisor that you want to be notified? So you've got some different ways to trigger these. Now you can also view, so this is, again, we have channels, and channels are, things that are set up. Now I can view Kyle's because he shared them with me. All right. And if they were private, he wouldn't be able to, right? They would just be mine. Okay. I've also got notification. So these are the notification triggers themselves. So how are we sending them? All right. And then last but not least, I've got history. So if you are the head supervisor and you have 3 people who work for you, you can actually go see, hey, what triggers went out that my people built and were sent out this week, and based on what, right? So you might not want to even look at all the other stuff, but you might say to yourself, hey, you know what? If you may have their triggers node active for yourself too, because you could add a channel for yourself and pick their triggers. So you kind of know, but if you ever needed to go back through a history, you could. And you could also say, okay, up here, I want to look at Kyle's channel and I want to see the rule for his, supervisor notification, or, I want to look at sentiment triggers only, and then successful, right? So you can see nothing matches that right now. So, but you get the idea. So you can kind of come into here and you can view different pieces of the notification channel as a supervisor, so that you can not only manage your own stuff, but you can take a look at what everybody else is doing. And this is what we meant when people asked us about, when people said to us, hey, we need some form of hierarchy. This is part of that hierarchy that we built. All right. So if people are getting notified of these things, all right. So for you guys, I haven't seen any questions yet. Kyle, did we have any yet?
No questions. Yes, actually, we do have one question. So somebody asked if they'll be able to get a replay because they joined late. So if you join late, no worries. After this webinar, you'll automatically get an email with a link to replay this webinar, and we'll have it on our website probably sometime early next week.
Yeah. So it'll either be this one or the one from a couple of days ago, and we'll go from there. Okay. So the last thing I want to show you guys is if we go back to overview, and you come over here and you click show filters. I want to give you just a little glimpse into where we're going with this, and also just what's here now. So if I wanted to see, phone calls with Kyle, I could search for Kyle. And now I'm looking at just the calls that involve Kyle, right? Whether it's a mention of Kyle or Kyle's in the report. I could also come over here and type in a phone number, and I could look for a specific phone number and it would pull it up for me. So again, this is just a way to filter. I could go by extension number if I wanted to, if I said 281. All right. So here's all my calls to that, right? So now you'll see down here that we've got something. So below this AI assistant, and this is kind of, it's admin only, not enabled for this domain. It is in beta, as you can see, but you would be able to describe what you're looking for. So find me calls where an agent asks to speak to a supervisor, and it would go find you all the phone calls where that happened. Find me calls where the overall negative sentiment was less than this much. Find me calls that were longer than X, right? And so you're going to be able to do some pretty astonishing things either right away or fairly soon with this. Again, because it's beta, you gotta give us a little play.
We got another.
You can also go ahead.
Oh, we got another question that came in.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Can you search for a call to a queue name?
Yes. Yeah. So if I came down here and I typed in tier 1, here's all my calls to tier 1. Okay. So that's possible. Now, if you, so you can search by overall sentiment, call properties, inbound, outbound. Scope would be like a site. So you can choose which sites you want to filter your calls by. And once you're filtered over here, then you can, like if I said, okay, I only want to look at calls that were greater than 30 minutes. All right. Or let's say, now I come up here. Well, now I've got 18 calls and I'm only looking at those calls. I know which reps they were involved in. I know what queue they came in through. And, and I can just dial in a little bit further into this stuff. Okay. So if I wanted to go look, I could. But so that's the nice thing about these filters. All right. Okay. So with that being said, I'm out of breath. I'm going to go hit my inhaler. And do my best here. I just say thank you again. If you guys are interested in this, I do see some folks who are on B1 in here. For you guys, we will be rolling this out to you guys before other people. I would say we're probably a week and a half away from this going live. We can get some early adopters, who, again, those would be limited to people who are using version 1. You can poke around at it, but we're right around the corner on bringing people live on this, which is why we decided to do this today. Just a couple things we're buttoning up, but as you can see, it's real, it's live, it has data. You watch the data changing as I change settings. So I hope you like what we showed you. We're really excited about it. I think the stuff that we're starting with Votacall is especially around AI, with AI agents and AI receptionists. We have some companies involved in our AI program right now. Some are going through setup, some are already active. And so, we have that rolling out too. So there's a lot of things that are pretty exciting right now that your phone system is going to be able to do. And we're happy to have conversations around those. I think you'll find that the Votacall experience is a little different. There's a lot of people advertising these kind of things right now, especially in the AI agent world, with regards to, oh, it's easy, set it up in 2 minutes on your website. I can tell you, having been involved in some of these rollouts that we've done already, it's not that easy. It's easy to make something that'll answer your phone. It's not easy to make something that answers your phone the way that you want your phone answered. So there's a difference, and Votacall is good at delivering that. We actually hired somebody who went to school for artificial intelligence and for learning language models and all that stuff. So so we're ahead of the curve in that way. So looking forward to all the things we're going to show you next month. I'm going out on a limb here, but I believe next month we'll be on AI agents. I'm looking forward to that. Our websites went up for AI agents, one last week and one yesterday for receptionists. So we're pretty excited about this stuff. All right. Thank you for coming. Kyle, anything else from you?
No, just what a vast improvement from version 1 to version 2. It's
it's pretty amazing. We should have given it a new name. What was the name of that Windows one? That Windows that was terrible. It was like Windows. Does anybody remember?
Was it E? No.
No, there was like a version of Windows that you couldn't open AOL on it. It was pretty amazing. Anyway, it was a disaster, really, is what I mean. But that's why we didn't name it that, because it was a disaster. Anyway, have a great day, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Thanks. Bye, everybody.